Welcome, everybody. Ooh, sorry, I probably just blasted all of you. To the Shadow of Corruption stream number 2. We're going to be talking about what it's like attending the event as a player, as opposed to an NPC or somebody that's helping out. Uh, we'll be covering a lot of topics, starting with logistics, things that the venue are going to provide, things that you'll need to bring yourself. We'll talk about a general timeline of the event from a player perspective, because that differs a little bit from the NPCs. We're going to talk about what it's going to be like when you first arrive at the castle, that fateful evening of the banquet. We'll talk about questing and the intricacies surrounding that. We'll talk about very specific mechanics surrounding the castle itself. We will cover guidelines for you as players at the event and expected conduct and stuff like that. And then we'll probably open it up for some questions if anybody has it. Let me verify with my wife that it's working. Cool. She says it's good to go. Awesome. Aight. So, first up, logistics. Switch over to view of my desktop. So, here is our beautiful castle, Miller Park, Miller Castle at the Boy Scout camp. Over here, to the west-hand side, right off of Paradise Drive North, you see this building and a large section of parking lot. This is where everybody is going to be parking, and the reason for that is it's kind of away from all of the good event sites and quest sites for combat and such that are going to be happening. So it'll obfuscate all of the cars and stuff like that, hopefully. If we run out of parking here, we can park on the street on the other side. We can also park all along the road that's kind of shown here, but is hidden by these trees. So parking shouldn't be an issue or concern. Alright, next up is the cost. So if you're coming as a player, it's going to be $40. Now, you are also going to have to go through a reservation process, which will open up at a predetermined time. There'll be posts about it all over the place when I go through opening that up, because we have a very limited number of slots. The whole venue, like I said in the previous stream, can take only 120 people. I would like to initially limit it to about 40 people. That gives us some flexibility if, like, oh, well, somebody has, a spouse or a really good friend coming from out of town or something like that. That allows us to grow with that if we start off with a limit of 40 for the players. It'll also help us try to drive people to being an NPC, which is going to be awesome. That's coming up in the third stream, which will be in probably a couple of weeks. So yeah, you will have to do a pre-registration. You won't have to prepay necessarily, but there is going to be a limited number. So that's important. And please, also, if you need help covering the cost of attending the event, you're dying to play a player character as opposed to an NPC, but you just can't figure out a way of getting up there, or you need help with the costs or something like that, please reach out to me. I'll see what I can do. I might try to push you to being an NPC, but if there's a good balance, then I absolutely will go that extra mile to help you find a ride, supplement some of the costs of going to the event, etc. I want to work with people because I want this to be successful, and I want people to come and enjoy it because it's going to be hopefully a once in a lifetime experience. Okay, so next up, what does this venue provide you, and what do you get for your money? Well, they have beds. You will have to bring your own bedding, though. They have toilets, showers, running water, etc. It's air conditioned. You will be getting snacks the entire time. The banquet itself on Friday night will actually be post-dinner meal, but there will still be a bunch of fruit, munchy snacks and stuff like that. Plenty of drinks, coffee, water, probably some kind of juice. So that'll be good on Friday night. If you come, you'll probably be able to scrape together a meal if you want. Next up, we will also be providing dinnerware, so paper plates, most likely, and disposable silverware, and cups for people. So in order for you to, have the most comfort at this event, you're going to need to bring your own bedding, your own toiletries. Please bring your own soap and stuff like that. I would love for everybody to take showers, especially with this nice facility that we have. You'll need to bring towels. You will need to bring all of your coolest garb, all of your fanciest weapons. You'll need to bring your own class sashes, though I'm sure people will have some to lend out or something like that. I'll also bring my bag of loner sashes that I have, which has a metric ton of sashes in them. If you have any super cool roleplay-esque fancy feastware that you want to bring, a nice silver tankard or something like that, really fancy silver plates, real silverware, please, I encourage you very much to bring that. And then if you have like water skins or something like that that you want to take out with you when you go on your adventuring, you'll want to bring those as well, so you're not just hauling, a drinking cup around with you. Okay, so next up we'll talk about the timeline. So the event is Friday, October the 1st through Sunday, October the 3rd, and players are going to be allowed to start getting shuttled from that parking lot that I showed you to the castle at 8 p.m. And then it'll be snacks, some stuff will happen, it'll be a good, jolly night of celebration. And then at around 11 p.m. is when quiet hours happen. Now that doesn't mean that you have to go to bed. Feel free to stay up all night and be, dead for the following day. But you have to be quiet. No loud talking in the dorm rooms or the sleeping quarters. You'll have to be, if you're gonna talk and stuff like that, you'll have to be in the Great Hall. But yeah, so quiet hours start at around 11 p.m. So next up, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. is gonna be breakfast call, and then at 9 a.m. questing opens. Around noon, lunch will be served. At 6 p.m. after a whole long day of questing, there's going to be potentially a big battle at the castle itself. And then at 7 p.m. onward, again, till about 11 o'clock at night, there's going to be a feast and celebration and reminiscing about what had happened at the event. Maybe some other special things that I can't go into too much detail right now because it's in the works. And then Sunday, after you wake up, hopefully from a good night's sleep, 8 a.m. there will be a breakfast, and then by 10 a.m. hopefully all of the players are going to be off-site so the NPCs can start going through and doing their cleanup routine on the castle itself. All right, so let's talk about this arrival. First thing, as soon as you're done parking, you will be getting into a line so you can be ushered to the castle via a coach. It'll be a van. Upon reaching the castle gates, you will be met by a set of registrars who will be checking you in, taking your attendance, registering the type of class that you want to start out with as a player for the quest, and then they will be passing you off to one of many tour guides who will give you an overview of the castle, the facilities, all of the rooms that you need to know about, etc., and probably introducing you to some of the other more important, friendly, and helpful NPCs and their locations in the castle as well. After that, you are free to roam the castle itself and stay within the walls. You can go out into the courtyard and stuff like that. You could probably even go walking around outside, but I don't know how much of the rest of the facility is lit, so you'll, have to keep track of yourself and hopefully not get lost. Use the buddy system. It's good. So yeah, that's the arrival. Next up, we'll talk about some questing. So, in the morning after having breakfast and stuff like that, the Grand Marshal, which is going to be portrayed by me, will start handing out quests on a fancy quest board. As a player, you go up, you have your team assembled, or you can go a different route. We'll get to that in a second. But you'll grab one of these quest contracts off of the board. You'll bring it to the Grand Marshal. The Grand Marshal will take a look at you, the quest, your teammates, and then potentially decide to assign some freelance people to you. Again, we'll get into that in a second. And then assign you a guide. Now, the guide is going to disappear and gather their things for about 10 minutes. They'll come back, and then they will walk you to the location of the quest based on any of the intel that they have been able to, to discern. After you succeed and return from the quest victorious, or if you all die and have to res at the castle, you can feel free to pick up another quest. Now, importantly, if you all die and you don't have a healer on your team or something like that, and you can't resurrect any way other than at the castle, if your entire team dies to something like that, then you end up having your contract revoked, it gets reposted, and you cannot be the person or the team to pick up that contract again, so you have to go for a different one. Now, this is also a good time to talk about what these contracts are going to look like. So here is a relatively simple example of a contract. It'll have a big title, Collect Pelts, and then a little blurb about what it's going to be. The winters are cold in northern Polaris, and we need to stock up on furs for the coming months and influx of refugees. Hunt down 5 bears and return with their bodies so we may clean them and store them. Now, because this is a bear quest, it's probably going to be combat oriented. You'll notice at the bottom left hand side there are 2 possible symbols that'll be on a contract. I have both of them shown here simply because I want to be able to show them off during this stream, but every contract will only have one of these 2. So a little symbol of crossed swords means you will definitely get into combat. A little one with a slashed out symbol of 2 swords means there will be no combat during this quest. And that's an important thing to highlight. So there's going to be a plethora of quests available to this. So it's not going to be just fighting. It's not going to be, just typical battle games. For some of these, you will have an opportunity to try and tackle some puzzles, either doing that inside of the castle itself in safety, or you will have an opportunity of going out and maybe collecting some goods for the store to be stocked with. Next up on the contract that is important, you'll notice these little stars. The number of stars indicates the difficulty of the contract, and one of my jobs that I promise as the Grand Marshal is to appropriately adjust and tell the guides, hey, this is a group of strong people, you're going to have to take this 5 difficulty and make it super powerful versus them, or hey, this is a 5 difficulty, but it's against a lot of newer people, so tune the enemies to be a little bit difficult. We have easy mechanics for doing that, by the way, so it's not just like the guides are going to have to figure this out. There will be a system in place that makes it easy for them. But so they'll have, I'll tell them, hey, go a little bit easier, make it hard, but don't maybe go easier on the natural invulnerable armor that a lot of the monsters and such will have during these quests. And then next up on the far right hand side, you will see a number followed by a little symbol of gold. And that is the amount of gold that you will get awarded for completing this quest successfully. Now, what do you use gold for? There will be a plethora of items available, either trinkets, things like potions, maybe a bracelet of bark skin or something like that. A number of items available for use and consumption at a shop. Most notably, there will also be some scrolls of refreshing, which is going to be the primary way that you actually get refreshes throughout the day. Otherwise, it's pretty much just you get your spell list and you go on, and that's it. So yeah, some other important things to note about the questing itself. Spells work per the rules, pretty much across the board. It's for players, it is unmodified Amped Guard, essentially, just rules as written and as you typically play. Now, some enemies have some things for maybe ignoring certain spells that you do, or maybe they have some spells that are interesting in their own way, but rely on what they tell you or what one of the guides tell you. So the guides essentially serve as the reeve for the battle game too. Mediating disagreements or informing you, yep, what just happened to you definitely just happened to you. If an NPC does something that seems unfamiliar or isn't super obvious. So yeah, listen to NPCs when they tell you something happens. Listen to the guide when they tell you something happens. Otherwise, rules is written for you. Yeah, and then there will also be a variety of both active and leisure quests, which means that you'll either have to do a lot of walking or it'll be something where you can chill in the castle and complete this quest. Maybe some of the leisure quest would be something where you go out and you collect some herbs or something like that. But maybe there's a chance for a goblin to wander in on you. So it's not super active. It's not super threatening, but it's easier than some of the other more active quests. So there will be a variety of things for all people, depending on what you're after and what you're interested in. Next up, let's cover castle-specific mechanics. So, the entire zone of the castle, from the interior of the walls and inside of the castle itself, is a no-fighting zone. Temporarily. There might be an exception to that at one point in the night, but that will be super obvious. Definitely fighting inside of the castle itself, inside of the main castle building, will not be a thing. Even during a potential big battle that might happen there. That'll all be outside, just within the castle walls. Which means you won't be able to, to hit people and wound them. It just won't be possible. And if you do get caught trying multiple times to fight or something like that, we'll tell you to knock it off, or maybe remove you from the site if it's too severe. I don't anticipate something like that being an issue at all. People generally listen when it's like, hey, don't fight or anything inside of the castle. Now, there's also another exception to this. There will be sparring areas set up outside in the courtyard where you can go and do practice fighting, just typical, similar to Amped Guard. If you want to, take somebody to the side, or your characters decide they want to have a bar spat or something like that, feel free to go there. You won't get physically wounded. It's just practice fighting essentially, where you can have fun. Next up, talking about how you initially come to the event and you register as a class. But let's say you decide that class isn't fitting for one of the quests that you're going into. You really want to play, say you start as a warrior, but you really want to change to a barbarian or something like that. Now, for all of the classes at the event, you will not be level 6. You will just have to go by the honor system and play as the level that you actually are, reflected in the orc itself. But you will be able to change classes. And in order to do that, you will have to visit one of the proper trainers. So right now, simply expecting there to be around 80 to 100 people, there are 2 big trainers. There's one that is dedicated to magic classes, and then there's one that is dedicated to martial classes. You'll have to go there. You'll have to present the card that you get when you register on that first night. You will have to give it to them. They will then spend a little bit of time training you. Maybe they'll ask you questions about how abilities work. Maybe they'll show you how abilities work. Maybe they'll ask you to demonstrate how do you cast a spell. They'll critique your form and stuff like that, very roleplay fashion. And then they will give you your new card with all of its glory, saying, hey, now I'm a fancy barbarian. Or maybe heathen barbarian is the better way of putting it. So I already touched on this a little bit, but say you die in the middle of your quest. Well, if you have a healer or a monk or whatever other class can potentially cast Resurrect, they can resurrect you. But otherwise, if you die in combat, you're going to have to come all the way back from wherever your questing area is to the keep itself. Within the keep of the castle, there will be a healer's sanctuary that has a spirit healing circle. They will cast a ritual to bring you back to life. Now, if you have to return to the castle to resurrect, you can no longer go back out to your quest and assist your team. So you'll have to either wait for them to come back victorious, or for all of them to come back and have to get resurrected at the healer too, and then the quest gets reposted like we talked about. But yeah, so if you get resurrected in the middle of a quest, that's it for you. Refreshing, yep, I covered that already. Basically, the only way you're going to be getting a refresh is by casting or by using one of the scrolls. Now, if you swap classes, that is a way of getting a refresh technically, because you're now getting a new spell list. You can feel free to kill 20 minutes of your time if you want to, switching to one class and switching back. I encourage you to try and avoid that, because one of the concepts that is important to me from a roleplay standpoint is the idea of resource management and having to feel the sting of like, oh gosh, this is definitely like my big stuns. That's important. I need those. I got to save those for something big. Okay. Let's see. Yep, so I covered that magical items are going to be for sale. Potions, trinkets, etc. Yes, so there will be a second board that is posted in the Great Hall for everybody to go and inspect. Anytime something big happens in this questing that's going on, there will be some kind of note or something that gets posted to this progress board. So everybody, even if you're off doing another quest that is completely unrelated, there are like 4 or 5 storylines that are going to be going on at the same time. Some of them are going to be related to each other. Some of them are going to be related to big various tasks that need to happen at the same time, but aren't really interchangeable. So if you're interested in knowing that, you can go to this quest board, you can talk to some people, you can read about what has happened, so you stay up to speed on what's actually going on and how the war effort is going against this cult. Next up, we're going to talk some guidelines for this. So one of the very few requirements that you have as a player is that I hope you're always in garb. Now the garb standards aren't super strict. If all you have is jeans, you can obviously come in jeans if you have just a simple T-tunic, etc. But I expect you to be in garb the whole time, just whatever your garb kit is. You can change garb or whatever. Just try to avoid, if you are going to go into just completely mundane clothes, try to do it in the the bunkhouses or something like that, or the bathrooms, whatever. That way it helps minimize the impact that it has on the immersion of the game, which is one of the focuses of this event, right? That's the whole point, as it's a roleplay event, so immersion has to be strong in order for roleplay to be to feel real. And then next up, try to stay in character. Emphasis on try to stay in character. The character can be whoever you want. You could be a hillbilly from the 20th century for all I care, as far as your mannerisms, acting, stuff like that. Doesn't matter. Go crazy, have fun with it, or just make yourself the character so it's natural. But try to play it up a little bit, act out. Sometimes that kind of stuff can be fun. And then the final thing, and this is extremely important, the world is as it truly appears in the game, to the extent, like, as much as possible. That means if you see a stack of papers, it's not just going to be, oh, you can, like, the stack of papers, that definitely has to be a quest item that you're retrieving. It could be a completely wrong stack of papers. Maybe there's a book that was leaned up behind a tree that you failed to notice on your quest, and you come back with a stack of papers and you're like, ah ha ha ha, look at this, and you read it and it's like a love letter to somebody or something like that, when you were supposed to be finding some research or something, for some crazy scientist cultist or whatever. So make sure that you keep your eyes open. Make sure that you realize, hey, monsters don't necessarily always have to sit there and fight you. Maybe stealth is something that you really need to work on. Maybe if you're going to try to, engage somebody without them knowing about it, clanking around in armor is probably not the best way to open up. So try to treat the world as real, and I will try to make the world as real as possible from a physical representation standpoint. Yeah. So, one of the other important things to cover is, I bet you're wondering, do we have extra rooms at the castle for use? And the answer is yes. There are 2 rooms, pretty much like this. They come with their own bathrooms. There's a shower and stuff to the right of this door over here that you can't see, unfortunately. I didn't take too many pictures of all of this stuff, but this is one of the ones that I took. You see that it has a sink. It has 4 bunks in it, 4 beds in it, not 4 bunks, 4 beds total in it. However, these will be auctioned off, and if you decide to, you want to cram more than just 4 people in there, you have a whole company, go crazy. Have them all sleeping out on the floors. I would be glad to help you move the tables out to one of the other storage facilities that are in the castle walls, either upstairs or downstairs or something. We could make it work, whatever. Go crazy. But yeah, so there are two additional completely private rooms that will be coming up at some point as well. Okay. I think that actually about does it as far as stuff that I need to cover for this. Does anybody have... Okay, yeah, let's take a look at some of these questions. Sorry, Todd, I didn't look at the chat because I have not enough monitors for doing this. Okay, so first off, can players gain levels through questing? Locking to orc level seems hard on newer players. I would potentially entertain that idea, but one of the things that I really want to do is encourage players to also go out and meet new people and learn, hey, this is what it looks like when you have a 6th level player in your party. Wow, that's a good power scoop. Now again, like I said, I have mechanisms for very easily and very quickly tuning quest monsters and stuff based on the party, and I think I'll be a pretty good judge at how effective a party is, but I'll think about it because I see where you're coming from. I'm going to lean towards no, but I'll have to give that some thought. And if people bring it up as a potential concern, then yeah, absolutely, that would be more ammo for me to want to change something like that. And then Rachel, can a healer res people in a different party? So I'm going to try and make it, let's go back, go take a quick look-see at this map again. So here's generally the Boy Scout reservation. So it goes down here, kind of swoops up and around, grabs the castle, comes up, covers that little site, this little site, goes all the way out, goes across this main road, and technically has all of that area as well. And if you look on the other side of the road and you scroll in, you notice like, oh hey, there's that's a bathroom or something like that, and that's a campsite. This is where most of the Boy Scouts will spend, their summer camp or whatever. It is my hope that we have enough sites and there will be the right amount of player character groups going out on quests that I can, that's going to be one of the talks I have with guides, or is going to be routing. I hope that you won't see another party, so you won't be able to interfere with their questing. You'll feel alone. You'll feel this sense of urgency of being on your own. However, the world is as it actually is. If you're walking back and you happen across somebody running away from, a 10-foot ogre or something ridiculous like that, and you see that person pointing back like, oh my gosh, they just killed my people, then yes, you can stop, you can help them, and you can resurrect their party. Oh, yeah, man, I completely spaced on this. So, say you are relatively new to Amtgard, or maybe you don't have a whole lot of friends, or maybe your friends just end up not being able to come to the event or something like that, and you're going to be a solo player. should you still come to the event, or is it only going to be for parties? Absolutely. So there is a system that I have that I'm calling the freelance system, where you can sign up as a party or you can join the freelance queue. Now, what that looks like is I will go down the list. If I see a bunch of random ones or twos of people, as a party comes in, I look at that party and I look at the quest they're on. Say they only have 4 people. I really would like to see 5 to 6 people on this quest. I'm going to grab one of those freelance people. You're going to get to join their party, and you'll go on the quest with them. So you're kind of forfeiting your freedom of choice for what kind of quest. However, if you come up, I'm like, hey, Gevahard, not that I ever think he would not be with the dogs, but first name that came to mind, probably just due to SEA. Yeah, I say, hey, Gevahard, you're in the freelance queue, and we need somebody for this questing group. Would you like to join them? He takes a look at the quest and he says, nah. Then I'll just bump him down, call the next person, and he'll go back into the queue. So you'll have a little bit of agency. I encourage you to enjoy the randomness and the freedom that comes with, and the unpredictable outcomes of what kind of quests and what kind of groups you get paired with if you're going to be a freelance queuer. Simply because I think it'll be fun. It'll be a good way for a bunch of people to interact that maybe don't typically interact. But yes, can you come to this event as a solo player and expect to have fun? Absolutely. Absolutely. How far away will the far quest be? Yes. Okay, so let's take a look at this map scale right now. Well, it doesn't, yeah, let's see, 200 feet, 500 feet. Okay, so right now, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, it's 500 feet from the castle out to this big area right here. So that's about 500 feet. I could see the farthest site away that I would try to utilize being maybe this one across the street, and probably only in dire circumstances. Maybe this one as well, although this is a little bit close to the road for my liking, so I might, I'd probably just try to find one back here. If I remember walking around, there was something else hidden in these trees that you can't really see right now. Could be that one. That's maybe half a mile. Again, that's worst case scenario, and I really don't think we'll have enough groups to facilitate something like that, or to meet that level of demand to where I have to resort to using something like that. So yeah, my goal is to stay on the eastern side of the road and make it all pretty close. But yeah, so that is an important consideration if you're considering being a guide and you're going to be going back and forth a lot, is there could potentially be a good day's walk in nature for you in store. Cool. Okay. So, again, same thing as always. If you have any other questions, feel free to post them up either on the Facebook event group, on the Polaris page. Reach out to me directly on Facebook. Post them in the comment section of this video. I keep checking back every now and then on all the other videos just to see if there are any comments that come up, any questions. But yeah, I will be happy to answer anything like that. And I will be posting the date for whenever you can try to register. 5 or 6 max party size. I'm not going to put a hard limit on something like that, because I could easily see some of the quests where I would freelance them up to maybe 8 people. I would say 5 people in a set party max, unless I know it's a group of friends and you really want to squeeze that last person in. But I'm absolutely going to tune your party, the quest to your party if you get that 6th person. So be expecting that. But yeah, I want to be flexible. I'm not going to let you go up to 10 people or something silly like that, so you can have, the entire company of Einherjar out there questing and mobbing on people. But yeah, so 5 people, flexible, if you really have some excellent friendship bonds that you just can't let go or something like that. That'll be something we'll talk. going to write a player guide for people that didn't see this video. I actually already have a player guide that is included in my super secret Google Drive that I'm going to publish as a link in the description for this video, and then also post it on the Facebook event group. I probably won't link it to Polaris, but yeah, so there's something covering some of this. I'm also going to make a player checklist for things that you should definitely be sure that you bring, and I'll include all of the stereotypical like Boy Scout camping checklist, like did you bring your sock, did you bring changes of underwear, did you bring a towel, a washcloth, did you bring sunscreen, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, a checklist will be forthcoming probably after I solicit for people to start signing up as player characters, but the guide is going to be going out in the next day or two after I read through it, make sure that it's properly sanitized and not going to give away anything to the story. Okay. Wait for another minute. Any more questions to come in? Otherwise, good stream.